Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, part 2. We've looked at a lot of tape for you, pulled out the best clips. Here we go. Interesting term he uses, neoliberal consensus. I thought that was interesting. He goes through that, what that means, right? Trump was fantastic. And by the way, this is why they hate Trump. They hate Trump because he didn't want to go to wars, didn't want to feed the military-industrial complex, number one. They want to go to war, the uniparty. And there's a uniparty, right? We talk about the uniparty all the time. This establishment, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, they were all a part of it, McCain, and then all the Democrats, and they all kind of want to go to war. They all want to spend a lot of money, and they all want open borders, right? So fantastic. Trump was for what? Secure borders and knowing who comes in. He was against wars, and he was for bringing manufacturing back. And what do jobs do? They make your community and city better. So you have to deal with regulations and taxes along with other issues in that. So the first time, and this is historic, you didn't really have a choice. You kind of had the uniparty choice. McCain, Obama, Romney, Obama, about the same. But then a guy comes in who's an outsider, Donald Trump, who's a businessman who hasn't been in politics all his life, hasn't been a governor, hasn't been a senator, hasn't been a congressman. He's been around enough to know them, but he's the one that's been giving money to them, not taking money. So he doesn't owe anybody favors. He's got his own money, and he can represent you, the people. The unique thing about this election and the past two is you actually had a choice. Usually you don't have a choice. It's the uniparty. Both guys want war. Both guys want big spending. Both guys want open borders. That's what we've had. Both guys support big pharma. Both guys support the industrial and military complex. George Bush kept wanting to run to wars, right? Obama wanted to go to wars, right? So they were both interfering all over the world. So the uniparty establishment really doesn't give you a choice, but you actually had a choice in Donald Trump. And can you imagine the attacks he's taken twice that we know of? I'm sure it's many, many more that I've read in articles that he's been tried and attempted his life on, but he keeps going. I mean, this is a man of courage. He should be celebrated for his courage. He didn't have to keep going. He didn't have to run the second time. He's got plenty of money. But he did for you, to bring jobs back and to close that border and to really keep America as a nation. And a nation needs borders. It's cultural. It's American principles. It's about sharing the same virtues. And you can't do that by having all these people cross over the border and then go into Marxist indoctrination centers. Can't be done. That won't maintain America, the America we love, where we have things in common and we share a heritage and culture and history, and we love that history. You're taught to hate it in the schools, the Marxist indoctrination centers. So it can't be done. To this massive amount that they're bringing in, the faction, you can see it's a faction pushing so many in for a purpose, to gain power and for voting. It's a plan, and they're working the plan well. It's a plan, and they're doing it. But Donald Trump fought against it, so let's hats off to Donald Trump for that. Hats off to Donald Trump on manufacturing. Hats off to Donald Trump. And here's another great thing, one of the greatest things, which I agree with. I think Charlie Kirk says it here. Trump exposed them, and they exposed themselves, right? The vitriol they ushered in against Trump was against his policies. We always said that. We said that in the groups. It's his policies they don't like. It's not really the mean tweets. It's not because he doesn't speak like them. It's because he's not in the game. It's because he wants to take their gravy train away. He wants to not go to wars and feed the military-industrial complex. That's why they hate him. We've always said that. They hate him for his policies. And ironically, they say he has no policies. He has the best policies, right? America first. He wants to take care of you, the American citizens first. He wants your kitchen table prices to be lower. So he attacked them and called them out. They weren't accustomed to that. And so they exposed themselves, right? The Mitt Romneys, the John McCains, and all those, because they came out. We could have done away with Obamacare, but who stopped it? Republicans, John McCain. So everybody, the establishment, the matrix, deep state, whatever you want to call it, the administrative state, all opposed Trump, which tells you what? Tells you a lot about the man, because nobody wants him in there because he's working for you and not them. Very rare. You actually have a choice this time. Let's go to the next clip.
We use the word uniparty a lot, right? That's the uniparty. That's the uniparty. This is why Kamala Harris is being endorsed by Dick Cheney, because they agree on those three things. No restrictions on who comes into America. It does not matter how much crap you import from the third world with plastics or textiles, because we don't need to make stuff here. And finally, we're going to invade every sovereign country that looks at us funny. Those three things have been governing the country the last 40 or 50 years. The reason they hate Trump is not because he talks funny. It's not because, he's all these different, whatever names they say. It's because he does not believe in the core religious orthodoxy of the neoliberal governing elite of Washington, D.C. That's why they hate him.
Okay, again, we've already talked about this. We just talked about it, the Uniparty, the gravy train. He did not want to go to war. We just talked about this, so we don't know go through, but I thought it was important to quit. The UN, these organizations, we want to have, here's something we didn't say, we want to remain a nation with American sovereignty and the U.S. Constitution. What are some factions trying to do away with? They just wrote that article. All these different articles are coming out attacking the Constitution. Why would they attack that? Because the elites, the globalists, want to do away with the Constitution so they can have more power over you and do exactly what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and any way they want it. Constitution protects you if you protect it. So we want American sovereignty. Constitution trumps the UN. So you have them overwhelm the system. Clara Piven talked about this. It will overwhelm the system. Too many entitlements. It'll devalue citizenship, run up the cost, demotivate, and you'll take the spirit out of Americans. He calls it the neoliberal consensus, pretty good. We talk about it as the uniparty or establishment. Dick Cheney gains from Halliburton. Where else did he gain from? Of course, Dick Cheney went over to the Democrats this time because it's not the true Republican, John McCain Bush Republican. It's not the old uniparty. Donald Trump's unique and different. So you see Republicans exposing themselves, crossing over. Anybody with the military-industrial complex, the deep state, the one who continues for open borders as opposed to Trump. It's all about policy. They like to say it's his mean tweets. It was never his mean tweets. It was his policies because he's for you. He's for American principles. He's for a secure border. He's for manufacturing here. He's for bringing blue-collar jobs back to Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And he's for energy, right? He's for American energy and being self-reliant. So the neocons, the establishments don't like him. And it's based on policy because they can't get as rich without him, right? The Bushes, the establishment, the whole world. And we can go into other deals that were bad for the United States of America, NAFTA. But we want American principles. When you cross that border, we want you taught American principles if you're going to be taught anything in the schools. The American Constitution. All right, let's go on to the next clip. This is a good one, so we'll let it play out for a couple of minutes. Go.
And then we have a leadership change in the Republican Party, and Mike Johnson from Louisiana, who I knew was like sort of a normal person, comes in and announces within like a week that his top priority is funding for Ukraine. And I called him and I was like, what? And he did not give me a straight answer. I don't know the answer. How does a guy like Mike Johnson, who always seemed like a nice guy to me, how does he wind up buying into a lie like that that has no connection to the preference of the actual American public and that could get our country destroyed? How did he get there?
Yeah, and look, I have a similar relationship with Mike Johnson. I give him grace, then I get really mad, and then I give him grace, and then I get really mad. And he forgives actually amazingly well when I call him out and I say that he's destroying the country. So I have to give him credit for that. You know what set me off with Mike Johnson?
There are so many things, I don't know.
When he as a lawyer voted to say that the FBI doesn't need to get a warrant to spy on us as American citizens. That drove me crazy. When
I'm sure they won't abuse it. The Biden administration just put Tulsi Gabbard on the terror watch list. She serves in the U.S. military right now.
And the intel agencies have spied on your text messages.
A lot,
and probably spied on mine. I mean, they're spying all of us. And here's Mike Johnson, who goes and casts the tie-breaking vote, which is very rare for a Speaker of the House to do, exceedingly rare. Basically, all of it would have said is like, hey, FBI, you have to get a warrant before you spy on American citizens' text exchanges. He said, no, I want to give the Biden FBI, in the middle of a campaign season, unrestricted access to all Trump campaign emails, all text messages, all phone calls. And I found that to be so reckless and irresponsible. Do you know what was the kicker, though? You can go back for 7 years. For 7 years, when he was on a committee, he was totally against the FISA statute. And as soon as he became Speaker of the House, he's like, well, I think it's very important because a bunch of Americans are going to die if we don't have the warrants and if we don't have all this.
But therein lies the mystery, and it's a sincere mystery. And I even asked him, like, you seem nice. When did you become a monster? And, people are not self-aware enough to give clear answers to questions like that. But
So this is more about the swamp, the established. That's the end of part 2, and we'll move on to the next one in part 3. If you like our message, we'd appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe.